I had always believed that love was a sanctuary, a safe harbor in the storms of life, a haven where two souls could find solace and strength in one another. My name is Alexander, and for over 10 years, I thought I had found that sanctuary with Isabella. She was my confidant, my partner, my everything. Yet, the betrayal that unfolded shattered my world in a way I could have never anticipated. It began as a slow, creeping doubt that nestled quietly in the recesses of my mind. At first, it was nothing more than a faint whisper amid the harmony of our daily routines. We lived in a modest home in a lively neighborhood, where laughter echoed through our small living room and dreams were shared over steaming cups of coffee each morning. However, a subtle change in Isabella's behavior started to disturb the delicate balance of our relationship. Her once bright eyes grew distant, and her warm smile, always a beacon of reassurance, started to waver. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that everyone goes through phases of melancholy or distraction, especially in the face of life's mundane challenges. As days turned into weeks, my concern deepened. I began to notice Isabella spending late nights at work, or so she claimed, returning home with vague explanations and a mysterious aura. There were moments when I caught her sending secretive messages, her fingers trembling as if burdened by 1,000 hidden truths. My heart pounded, echoing the mounting anxiety within me. I found myself sifting through our shared memories, questioning the authenticity of every tender moment, and wondering if the love I cherished was merely an illusion meticulously crafted to hide an impending betrayal. The turning point came on a chilly autumn evening when I returned home earlier than usual from a lengthy meeting. I stepped into our living room, expecting to find Isabella curled up on the couch with one of her novels. Instead, I was met with a scene that tore the fabric of my reality apart. In the dim light of our room, there she was, Isabella, entwined in the embrace of another man. For a moment, I was paralyzed, as if time had slowed to allow me to absorb the crushing pain of betrayal. The promises of fidelity, shared dreams, and unwavering devotion now lay shattered at my feet like fragments of broken glass. The man with her was no stranger, his name was Victor, a charming, enigmatic figure who had recently emerged in our social circles. I recalled fleeting glances exchanged at community gatherings, brief moments when his smile, once reassuring, now hinted at something far more treacherous. The realization that Isabella and Victor had woven a clandestine affair sent shockwaves through my entire being, leaving me grappling with an overwhelming storm of anger, despair, and confusion. In the days that followed, I found myself trapped in a labyrinth of conflicting emotions and haunting memories. Every shared laugh, every whispered promise in the quiet of night, became tainted by the bitter taste of deceit. I replayed every moment in my mind, the late-night work trips, hushed phone calls, and secret smiles that now seemed to mask a hidden life. With each recollection, the image of the Isabella I had known crumbled further, revealing a painful truth that love, no matter how sacred, could be shattered by betrayal. To make sense of the chaos, I began to write in a journal, a chronicle of my inner turmoil, my despair, and the slow, painful process of coming to grips with my new reality. Each page became a refuge where I could pour out my raw emotions and confront the myriad of questions that now haunted me. Writing became both a catharsis and a tool for reclaiming some semblance of control over my life. Every carefully chosen word, every reflective sentence, was a step toward understanding the paradox of trust and deception, love and betrayal. It is astonishing how quickly the world transforms when a single truth comes crashing down like a tidal wave. The warmth that once filled our home was replaced by a cold emptiness that crept into every corner, every familiar space now echoing with memories of happier times. Friends, who had once been the pillars of our shared life, now felt like distant figures, unable to grasp the depth of my pain. Even the neighborhood, with its cheerful chatter and sunny afternoons, seemed to wear a shroud of melancholy, a constant reminder that nothing would ever be the same again. Now, as I sit alone in the silent aftermath of that fateful night, I am confronted with the daunting task of rebuilding my life from the ruins of shattered trust. The betrayal has carved deep scars into my soul, scars that may never fully fade. I mourn not only the loss of the love I once held so dear but also the future I had envisioned, a future where Isabella and I would weather every storm together. Each step forward feels burdened by the weight of those lost dreams and the knowledge that I must now navigate life with a heart forever changed by sorrow. Yet amid the overwhelming pain, I am slowly learning that there is a fragile spark of hope even in the darkest of times. I have come to understand that while love can be a source of immense joy, it also carries the risk of deep and devastating wounds. My journey is now one of introspection, a quest to rediscover who I am without the comforting presence of a love that was once invincible. I am determined to learn from this betrayal, to forge a path toward healing, and ultimately, to reclaim my life. The road ahead is steep and uncertain, but I know that each day will bring small moments of clarity and strength. Isabella's betrayal has left an indelible mark on my life, a reminder of how fragile trust can be and how even the most cherished bonds can be undone by deceit. In the quiet moments of reflection, I realize that every ending, however painful, also carries the seeds of a new beginning. I must now learn to embrace a future that, though scarred by the past, holds the promise of renewal and self-discovery. The journey to mend a broken heart is long and arduous, but I am resolved to gather the fragments of my shattered self and rebuild a life founded on honest connections and newfound resilience. As I stand on the precipice of this uncertain future, the echoes of Isabella's betrayal continue to reverberate through my mind. They serve as a constant reminder that love, for all its beauty and passion, is also capable of inflicting wounds that run deep. With a heavy heart, I accept that my past with Isabella is now a chapter closed, a story of promises broken and trust betrayed. Though the pain is immense, I know that every scar will eventually teach me something about strength, vulnerability, and the true nature of love. This is the beginning of my journey toward healing, a journey that, despite its many obstacles, will lead me to a place of acceptance and understanding. I have resolved to take each day as it comes, learning to live with the memories of what was and gradually forging a path to a future defined not by betrayal but by the courage to start anew. In the midst of the storm, I have discovered a quiet determination, a resolve to honor my own worth and to rebuild a life where trust is earned anew, even if the price has been heartbreak. After the devastating discovery of Isabella's betrayal, I embarked on a solitary quest to uncover the hidden truths that had eluded me for so long. Determined to confront the painful reality, I began scrutinizing every detail of our shared life. I questioned each smile, every whispered conversation, and all the subtle signals I had once taken for granted. The familiar became foreign as I revisited memories with a discerning eye, searching for clues in the remnants of our past. Every recollection, every seemingly insignificant detail, now bore the weight of betrayal, intensifying my resolve to unearth the complete truth relentlessly. I began to investigate the timeline of Isabella's secret rendezvous with Victor. I discreetly followed her footsteps, observing her late-night outings and unexplained absences. Every shadow and fleeting glance confirmed my growing suspicions. I compiled fragments of evidence from subtle conversations with acquaintances, piecing together a narrative that revealed her double life. The process was both painful and enlightening, as each discovery forced me to confront the painful duality of love and betrayal. My heart, though heavy with sorrow, sought to understand the full extent of her deception. Every new piece of evidence deepened my agony and sharpened my resolve. Loneliness enveloped me as I wrestled with conflicting emotions and a burgeoning need for clarity. Nights became interminable, filled with restless thoughts and a persistent echo of her laughter. I sought solace in solitude, yet even in the quiet moments, the memory of Isabella's smiles and shared dreams haunted me relentlessly. Every heartbeat reminded me of the bond we once cherished, now tarnished by betrayal. In these moments of despair, I found an unexpected strength emerging from within, urging me to face the darkness and pursue the truth at any cost. Hope and determination now fueled my every action relentlessly. Haunted by memories, I reached out to old friends who had witnessed our happier times. Conversations were awkward and laced with unspoken sorrow as I delicately probed into Isabella's recent behavior. Some offered sympathetic glances, while others hesitated, unsure if their words would betray their loyalty. Despite their reservations, fragments of conversations provided hints that Isabella had concealed more than mere infidelity. Whispers of financial troubles and secret meetings with influential figures surfaced, suggesting a complex web of deceit. Each revelation added layers to the mystery that now consumed every facet of my existence. Pain and truth intermingled inevitably profoundly. In a desperate attempt to confront the mounting revelations, I arranged a meeting with Victor under the pretense of seeking closure. The encounter was fraught with tension and simmering hostility as I challenged him on his role in Isabella's betrayal. His calm demeanor clashed with the storm raging inside me, and every word exchanged was laden with unspoken accusations. I demanded answers, seeking to understand if there was a method to his betrayal or if he was merely an opportunist in a web of deception. The dialogue left me both enraged and more determined to uncover the truth. Relentless pursuit. Days turned into weeks as I immersed myself deeper into the mystery that now defined my existence. I frequented locations where Isabella had been seen, conversing with people who might unknowingly reveal further secrets. With every piece of information gathered, the picture grew more complex, hinting at a larger scheme that extended beyond personal betrayal. The intensity of my investigation took its toll, and sleep eluded me as restless nights were spent analyzing details and cross-referencing memories. Each new discovery was a double-edged sword, inflicting pain yet fueling my relentless drive for understanding. Determination surged as I pressed on steadily. Memories of Isabella began to morph into distorted images, merging past warmth with the bitterness of deceit. I recalled the tender moments we shared, now tainted by the knowledge of her duplicity. Even as I questioned every memory, I felt a growing numbness that threatened to overtake my senses. The vibrant colors of our past had faded into shades of gray, leaving behind only echoes of promises that were never meant to last. I grappled with conflicting emotions, sorrow, anger, and a desperate desire for answers that could justify this tragic unraveling. In that struggle, my soul sought resolution with urgency. My investigation led me into unexpected territory, where secrets intertwined with politics and corporate interests. I discovered that Isabella's betrayal was not a simple lapse of loyalty, but rather part of a larger, more intricate scheme. Rumors circulated about undisclosed financial dealings and manipulative partnerships that cast a long shadow over her actions. The more I uncovered, the more I realized that I had stumbled into a world far removed from the personal anguish I initially faced. It was a realm where power and deception danced hand in hand, challenging my understanding of right and wrong. Mystery grew ever stronger. Every conversation, every silent encounter, deepened my resolve and intensified my inner turmoil. I began to document each encounter meticulously, creating a detailed chronicle of Isabella's actions and the circumstances surrounding them. This personal archive became both evidence and a means to process my emotions. I combed through social media, revisited old photographs, and reconnected with individuals who might hold the missing pieces of our shared history. Each fragment of information brought me closer to understanding the magnitude of the betrayal, while simultaneously unraveling the complex web of lies that had defined our relationship. My heart burned with relentless fury. In the wake of relentless pursuit and heart-wrenching discoveries, I stood at the crossroads of despair and determination. The dual forces of grief and anger converged within me, forging an unyielding resolve to reclaim my dignity. As I prepared to confront Isabella with the amassed evidence, a tempest of emotions surged through me, resolute, vengeful, yet deeply sorrowful. Every plan, every calculated move, was fueled by the desire to extract truth from the tangled mess of betrayal. I knew that the confrontation would alter the course of our lives irrevocably, setting the stage for an ultimate reckoning. Fate awaited our destiny. Armed with every scrap of evidence and a heart burning with both fury and sorrow, I finally reached the moment I had been dreading yet desperately awaiting, the confrontation with Isabella. The weight of each discovery, the whispered rumors of financial deceit, and the secret meetings with Victor had driven me to the edge of my patience. I knew that to move forward, I needed to face the woman I once loved, to force the truth into the open even if it meant shattering what remained of our shared past. The day was overcast, a reflection of the turmoil roiling inside me, as I made my way to our favorite café, a place once filled with laughter and dreams, now transformed into a battleground of memories. Isabella had agreed to meet me there, perhaps out of a sense of duty to the history we once cherished, or maybe in a misguided hope to salvage what little dignity was left. As I waited, every moment stretched into an eternity. My hands trembled, not solely from the chill in the air, but from the anticipation of what was about to unfold. When Isabella arrived, her eyes were guarded, a subtle mix of regret and defiance that made my heart clench. The warm smile I remembered was replaced by a thin line of determination. We exchanged curt greetings, the conversation hanging heavy with unsaid words. I wasted no time, the silence demanded to be broken by the raw truth that had been festering for months. "Isabella," I began, my voice low and steady despite the storm raging within me, "we need to talk. I've known about you and Victor for a long time. I've seen the messages, the late nights, the hidden meetings. I need to know why." Her eyes darkened, a flicker of pain passing through them, but she remained silent for a long, agonizing minute. The café's ambient chatter became a distant murmur as I pressed on, recounting every detail I had pieced together, the whispered conversations with mutual friends, the hushed phone calls in the dead of night, and the undeniable evidence of your double life. Every word was a scalpel, cutting through the facade of the woman I thought I knew. Her silence eventually shattered into a bitter confession. "I never meant to hurt you, Alex," she said, her voice cracking with remorse. "But I was drowning. The life we had, it suffocated me. Victor offered me something I thought I needed, a way out." Her eyes pleaded for understanding, but I could see no reprieve in them, only a hardened resolve that spoke of betrayal and liberation all at once. The revelation that she viewed our years together as a suffocating cage was like salt in an open wound. I recalled the countless times I had promised to support her, to stand by her side no matter what storms we might face. Now, as the truth spilled out, every promise felt like a lie. "You had everything," I spat, the bitterness of disappointment and rage mingling in my tone. "I gave you my heart, my future. And you threw it away for an escape route that left me in ruins." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and for a fleeting moment, I sensed the woman I once loved staring back at me, a woman caught between the weight of her own decisions and the pain of causing irrevocable damage. "I was lost, Alex," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "I needed to feel something, to break free. I didn't think that would destroy everything." Her words, intended as an explanation, only deepened the chasm between us. In that heated exchange, the years of shared laughter, dreams, and quiet promises were dismantled piece by piece. I pressed her further, demanding to know if there was any part of her still loyal to the vows we had exchanged. The answer was a hollow, sorrowful admission, a recognition that what we once had was no more than a distant memory, irreparably tarnished by her betrayal. Emotions surged inside me, a cocktail of anger, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of loss. The confrontation escalated into a heated dialogue, voices raised and tempered by raw emotion. Every word seemed to echo with the ghosts of our past, reminding me of happier days now lost in the fog of deception. Isabella's defiant insistence on her need for freedom clashed violently with my desperate pleas for accountability and loyalty. I recounted the evidence once more, each detail a reminder of how deeply I had been deceived. "You betrayed our trust, Isabella. You dismantled everything we built together. How can you now speak of freedom when you've left me with nothing but pain?" My voice wavered, the anger giving way to profound hurt. In her eyes, I saw no remorse that could mend the fissures in our bond, only the hardened certainty that our paths were diverging. The café, once our sanctuary, transformed into the arena of our final reckoning. The tension between us was palpable, drawing the attention of nearby patrons whose curious glances added to the humiliation of our public unraveling. The confrontation, initially driven by a desire for answers, now became an inevitable collision of two souls who had grown irreparably apart. As the conversation reached its climax, Isabella revealed details of her entanglement with Victor that underscored the finality of our separation. She spoke of the new life she intended to build, one free from the constraints of our past and, most importantly, without the remnants of my expectations weighing her down. Her resolve was unwavering, and with each passing moment, it became clear that any hope of reconciliation was slipping away like sand through my fingers. In that moment, I realized that the truth I had so painstakingly uncovered was not the beginning of a healing process but rather the catalyst for a complete dissolution. The confrontation had shattered any illusions of a shared future. Every word exchanged, every bitter admission, marked the end of what we once believed was unbreakable. The love that had once promised safety and unity was now reduced to fragments of bitter memories. Leaving the cafe that day, I felt a crushing emptiness mixed with a stubborn resolve to reclaim my identity. The path ahead was uncertain, paved with the rubble of a life I had once known, but I understood that clinging to what was lost would only impede the possibility of rebuilding. I could no longer be tethered to a past defined by betrayal. Instead, I had to forge a new beginning, even if it meant enduring the agony of parting ways permanently. That day marked the turning point, the irrevocable end of our union. Isabella's eyes, once filled with the promise of shared dreams, now held only the cold certainty of liberation from our shared past. My heart, though bruised and battered, was slowly accepting that the love we had nurtured was now nothing more than a casualty of our choices. The confrontation was not just an exchange of words, it was the moment when two lives, once intertwined, unraveled into paths destined never to cross again. In the aftermath, as I walked away with the echoes of our shattered promises trailing behind me, I understood that our separation was inevitable. The truth had been laid bare, and with it, the realization that our journey together had reached its bitter, inescapable end. I was left with a profound lesson, that love, when marred by betrayal, transforms irrevocably, and sometimes, the only way to heal is to let go of what can never be restored. In the weeks that followed our explosive confrontation, the remnants of what once was began to crumble under the weight of bitter finality. I, Alexander, found myself walking a path of painful introspection and unyielding resolve, a path that led inevitably to the absolute dissolution of our shared life. Every day became a struggle to untangle myself from the memories, from the lingering echoes of promises that had once defined us. The journey was solitary and harsh, yet necessary if I was ever to reclaim the fragments of my dignity and rediscover who I truly was. Isabella, too, appeared to have embraced her newfound freedom with an almost reckless determination. In the aftermath of our public confrontation at the cafe, her actions grew increasingly erratic. There were moments when she would call out, desperate and defiant, as if to assert control over the chaos she had unleashed. Each time she reached out, whether to mend fences or to stir up more conflict, I recoiled further, unwilling to be drawn back into the vortex of betrayal and regret. One fateful evening, as the cold winds of winter began to mirror the chill that had settled between us, I received a message from Isabella. The tone was curt, laced with an undeniable edge that left little room for reconciliation. She demanded a meeting at the old park bench where we had once shared secrets and dreams under starlit skies. Despite every instinct urging me to ignore her, I knew that this final encounter might be the last thread connecting the past to the present. Reluctantly, I agreed. Under the dim glow of streetlights, with the park cloaked in an uneasy silence, we met once more. Isabella's eyes, which had once reflected warmth and care, now burned with a defiant light. The air between us was charged with tension, a volatile mix of anger, resentment, and the raw pain of irreparable loss. There was no preamble, no tentative small talk. The weight of unspoken words hung heavily as we faced each other, the years of shared history reduced to bitter fragments scattered around us. "Alex," she began, her voice sharp and unyielding, "It's over. I've made my choice, and I'm not going to live a life that's a constant reminder of what I never wanted." Her words struck me like a final blow, a declaration of war that left no room for negotiation. I felt a mixture of relief and sorrow surge through me, relief that I would no longer have to shoulder the burden of her indecision, and sorrow for the love that had been lost, not in a blaze of passion, but in the slow erosion of trust. I responded in kind, my tone cold and resolute. "Isabella, this isn't just about you or me, it's about the betrayal that has poisoned everything we built together. I cannot, and will not, forgive what you've done. Our lives have diverged so far that any semblance of what we once were is now nothing but a relic of the past." My words were deliberate, each syllable a final nail in the coffin of our shared future. The conversation that followed was less a dialogue and more an exchange of bitter finalities. Isabella recounted the freedom she now felt, a freedom that, to her, justified every secret meeting, every lie, every act of betrayal. She spoke of the thrill of breaking away from what she called the suffocating chains of commitment, and the liberation of charting her own course. For every word she uttered, I countered with the harsh reality of broken trust and a love that had been irrevocably shattered. There was no middle ground, no reconciliation that could heal the wound, only an ever-widening chasm of hostility and hurt. As the night deepened, our voices grew louder, echoing off the deserted paths and barren trees. The park, once a sanctuary of tender memories, now served as the backdrop for the final unraveling of our intertwined lives. Isabella's defiant stance and my relentless insistence on accountability converged into a storm of recrimination. Every accusation was met with a bitter retort, every attempt at understanding was drowned out by the overwhelming sense of betrayal. It became painfully clear that this encounter was not about closure, it was a public severance of the bond we had once thought unbreakable. In a final, explosive moment, Isabella hurled a parting remark that would forever be etched in my memory. "You never understood me, Alex," she spat, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and despair. "You never cared enough to see that I was suffocating under your expectations." Her words cut deep, reminder that our differences had always been vast and, in the end, insurmountable. I stood there, the chill of the winter night matching the cold resolve that had taken root within me. "Maybe you're right," I replied evenly, my voice devoid of any lingering affection. "Perhaps I was blind to your pain. But I refuse to be held hostage by your need for escape. This is our final goodbye, Isabella. We are done." The finality of my words resonated in the silence that followed, a silence so profound it seemed to swallow the remnants of our shared past. That night, as I walked away from the park, every step felt like a liberation from the chains of memories that had bound me for so long. The path ahead was uncertain, paved with the debris of a life that had once been rich with promises and shared dreams. Yet, in that uncertainty, there was also a flicker of hope, a promise that I might one day rediscover the man I was before the betrayal, before the pain. In the days and weeks that followed, the echoes of our final encounter continued to reverberate through my thoughts. Isabella's message of emancipation, delivered with such venom, confirmed that our lives were destined to move in irreconcilable directions. I set about dismantling every vestige of the life we had once shared, packing away mementos and memories that now served as painful reminders of what had been lost. With each discarded photograph and each locked drawer of mementos, I felt a measure of liberation. I was not just leaving her, I was leaving behind a version of myself that had been defined by trust, vulnerability, and an unyielding belief in the sanctity of love. Our separation was not marked by mutual sorrow or lingering affection, it was defined by hostility, a clear and unambiguous break. There would be no gentle fade into oblivion, no soft whispers of regret. Instead, our parting was as stark and final as the words exchanged on that bitter winter night. Isabella's betrayal had not only broken our union but had also altered the very fabric of who I was. I emerged from the ordeal with scars that would never fully heal, scars that served as a constant reminder of the cost of misplaced trust and the devastating impact of a love gone awry. Looking back now, as I continue to navigate this new, solitary path, I understand that some separations are not meant to be bittersweet farewells but are instead fierce severances, necessary ruptures that force us to confront the harsh truths of our lives. Isabella and I were never meant to heal together. Our parting was destined to be final, a hostile cleaving of two souls that had once been inexplicably intertwined. In the end, the final severance was both a liberation and a condemnation, a liberation from a life filled with deceit and a condemnation of the illusions that had once bound us. Our story concludes not with reconciliation, but with a fierce affirmation of our separate destinies. The love that had once promised eternity had disintegrated into a bitter memory, and the future, now unburdened by the weight of our shared past, stretches before me as a testament to the enduring, albeit painful, capacity to start anew. This is the end of our story, a final, hostile break that leaves no room for compromise or regret. Isabella and I have parted ways, our lives diverging into irreparable paths. The hurt remains, the scars are permanent, and the memory of betrayal lingers like a shadow. Yet, in that very finality lies the promise of a future untainted by the ghosts of yesterday, a future where both of us must walk alone, forever defined by the choices we made and the painful truths we could no longer ignore.